In art class, the teacher noticed some dirt on the model's thigh and immediately told the students to wipe it off. If he thought someone's drawing looked wrong, he would scold them right there on the spot. When checking homework, if he wasn't satisfied, he would even expel students on the spot. One student went so far as to hand in a blank sheet of paper. Nobody could have guessed that the student who turned in nothing would later become the legendary Leonardo da Vinci. Back then, Leonardo just sat staring at the model, unable to put pencil to paper. To him, she wasn't a goddess from mythology the way the teacher dressed her up, but simply a poor country girl forced to pose to make a living. He couldn't see anything divine about her, only the calluses on her hands, the cuts on her arms, and the scars on her back. He simply couldn't bring himself to paint an idealized goddess the way the teacher demanded, because all he could draw was what he actually saw. Even though he didn't hand in a piece, Leonardo later sought out the model in private. She struck the same dramatic pose from class, but he shook his head. Instead, he asked her to sit on a stool just as she would at home. In his eyes, she wasn't a goddess, just an ordinary country girl. And he didn't want to stop at a sketch. He dreamed of painting a full, colorful portrait. So one night, he snuck into his teacher's studio and borrowed the paints that only the teacher was allowed to use. Later that same night, he went to the model's house and secretly began adding color to his portrait. When Leonardo returned home, he found his teacher still awake, sitting at the easel with a troubled look. Leonardo asked, "Master, what's bothering you?" The teacher sighed and admitted he was in over his head. He'd been commissioned to place an 18-ton cross on top of the city's largest church. It was an incredibly challenging but prestigious project. The problem was, no matter how he designed the lifting machinery, the scaffolding at the top simply couldn't handle the weight of the cross swinging in midair. If the project failed, his reputation would be ruined. Leonardo was captivated by the problem. He couldn't take his eyes off the sketches until the teacher sent him to bed. Even lying in the dark, his mind kept working. As he blew out the candle, the curling smoke suddenly gave him an idea. What if he could make 18 tons feel weightless? Then the scaffolding could hold. Excited, he jumped out of bed, rushed to the studio, and drafted a new design for the lifting machine. The next morning, when his teacher saw the drawing, he was stunned. How is this even possible? On the day of construction, the whole crowd held its breath. The teacher was so nervous he couldn't even look. But Leonardo's design, with its clever use of pulleys, reduced the effective load so much that just 3 men were able to raise the 18-ton cross with ease. As the massive structure reached the top, everyone grew tense. But thanks to Leonardo's modification, replacing the swinging crane with a sliding track, the cross slid smoothly into place atop the church. The crowd erupted in cheers, but the teacher himself felt no joy.